I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Morning, everyone.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
All right, thanks for everyone who's here. Any additions or deletions on the agenda?
Not at this time.
Make a motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
I got a motion, I need a second.
I'll second it, Mr. Chair.
All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And a nice thing that we've got next on the agenda is employee recognition. I hope are the speeches ready and everything?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is our new
Good morning.
record specialist. Her name is also Amy.
Okay, ooh,
That'll be easy enough.
They're all Amy.
Yes, and she just came aboard yesterday, so
All right.
we're brand
Welcome
new,
aboard.
but, coming to us from Brainerd Lakes area. And starting something new, 19 years at,
Essential Health, yes.
okay.
Oh, my, okay.
Good.
yeah, so,
Dumb question, what was your last name again?
Onstead.
Onstead?
Yep.
Amy O, is that out?
Yep,
So,
Neil and Amy Kay.
Amy K,
Yep.
just gotta put that together. All right.
Welcome aboard.
Very good.
Thank you.
Welcome
This is our
aboard.
newest face.
Hope we get 19 years here from you. There we go.
Excellent. I like it.
Amy. Amy.
Thank you.
See ya.
See ya.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Amy and Amy.
Moving along, approval of consent agenda. This will be a roll call vote. Is there anything what a person would like to have, one of the commissioners would like to have moved, removed, and then discussed or not?
Not me.
Mr. Chair, as it stands, I would make a motion to approve our consent agenda.
All right, I need a second.
Second.
All right, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Casper.
Aye.
Zelinski.
Aye.
Myself is aye. Motion carried. Moving along again, human health and human services.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nathan Bertram, Health and Human Services Director.
Melanie Erickson, Health and Human Services Supervisor.
And so we're here today following up from planning session a couple weeks ago now to talk about family resource centers and the potential to move forward with a grant acceptance regarding those. Because we haven't talked about these too much, other than that planning session, we'll talk a little bit about the history, kind of where we're at and how we got here, and then look for you to make some decisions at that point, I guess. So family resource centers started roughly in 2011 across the United States, and there's about 11 since then. They've increased to over 40 states in the nation and continue to build support and support our communities. In 2021, AMC moved forward with a grant application to Sauer Family Foundation to help move forward the idea of family support networks in Minnesota. And that has continued. In 2023, again, this was supported by legislators down at the Capitol and moved forward some continued support as well as writing family support centers into some of the statute language to continue that moving forward. I'll let Mel talk a little bit more about what an actual family resource center is.
Okay, thank you. Family resource centers are unique to their own county and their own citizens that reside or use those family resource centers. They can be located in schools, libraries, or be their own independent, building as such. In the state of Minnesota, there are some counties that run family resource centers and others that are run by private agencies or within schools. Family Resource Center is designed to be kind of a one-stop shop for family or citizens of that community, so that co-located services may come to the resource center. For example, if we were to have one in Morrison County, it's possible there could be a day of the month that Hands of Hope would be there to answer questions. There could be a day that child support would be there to answer questions, financial support. Possibly somebody from NAMI, the National Alliance for Mentally Ill Persons, could be there. It would just be a host site. There's no eligibility required, like for some of our programs or programs that run through schools or counties. It would be open to everybody that has of interest. Also, there's a lot of fun and learning activities that happen at those centers. Child development is a main focus of one of the resiliency factors. And so there may be classes about parenting, fun activities to do with your child. Library may come in if it's not located at the library for story time. Those are just some examples. Also, one of the other crucial things can be that having access to resources like food. So there may be times where different community or churches would host a meal or such like that at a resource center. Again, it's very unique to the community and its citizens and who wants to participate. And the common theme, though, that it is opening, it's welcoming, and that it is a fun location.
So how did we end up here and kind of where we're at? So there's been a couple different things happening in our region. So Sourcewell Region 5 Development Commission and the Initiative Foundation have been working together in what's the Communities of Excellence Initiative. And that's really looking at our region and our workforce and how to strengthen our communities, mental health as well as a part of that. Additionally, the directors amongst Region 5 have been discussing this idea of family resource centers and does it make sense in our area and how or what that would look like. And it's a big concept. We talked a little bit at planning session. It's hard to kind of get your head to wrap around what this might all entail. And so the Sauer Family Foundation offers grants for this assess and explore phase of family resources, which is really dollars to help you look at your communities, what might be needed, what strengths or gaps there might be in services, and really helps put together an asset map of what your communities might be ready for, what communities might not be ready to move something forward. And so we applied for one of these assess and explore grants, and we were approved to move forward with that if we're accepting of the dollars. The plan, or the total, I guess, that's $223,000. Morrison County would be the fiscal host, and we would be looking to RFP that out to have a contractor come in and do that work for us. And it would really be kind of steered by our existing adult mental health initiative and children's mental health initiatives, which are our regional partnerships already that kind of steer some of that regional work in our area. Once we have this map, asset map, it really helps you identify where and what are your next steps. It might help you identify who's gonna run it, who's gonna maybe do the lights, electric, etc. It might help identify which communities. Maybe it's Royalton, maybe it's Piers, maybe it's Motley, I don't know. You know, it really kind of helps identify which communities are ready for a family resource center. And the outcomes of the family resources are really just there to be there for the community, and hopefully long run, 5-10 years down the road, helps to decrease service needs from the county per se, in children's mental health or child protection, and buffer those in the future. There is dollars in grant applications for the development of a family resource center, but we're not looking at those right now. This would just be to look at assessing the Region 5 area, which Morrison would get its own specific report to Morrison County out of this assessment. And there's no requirement to move forward after that. And regardless if we decide to move forward or don't move forward, the asset map and the report that comes out of this will still be valuable as far as how we plan and move forward with services. So with that, I would turn it over to you all for questions or comments or.
Gentlemen, any questions? Commissioner Zelinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, thank you for coming back. We had a very, I'm going to call it a robust discussion when you were here a couple weeks ago on the same topic. And I believe you covered one of my questions. And my question was, it's a Sauer, whomever, Mr., Mrs., Mr., whatever, the Sauer family, a grant. This is, I want to be very clear. I want to just make sure that I'm on the, take the blinders off. This is not levy money we're talking about to explore this program. This is absolute grant money that, and I heard you clear, I just want to repeat it, that at the end of the day, we don't want to do this, bye. So then I'm going to follow up with, at the end of the day, we do want this. We see it, and I'm certainly not suggesting for a second that there isn't a need. So, get over that. But at the end of the day, there is a need. I need to know now, how much levy money are we talking about?
So Sauer Family Foundation is I always struggle with this word,
Philanthropic.
Yep.
organization. So all their dollars are donated dollars and raised by that family. There is no levy dollars, there'd be no state tax dollars, it's all
Yep.
Philanthropic.
Okay, I'm gonna give up on
Just
that one.
skip the
But
word
there's
and
no
make sure
levy
she answers
dollars
it.
or state tax dollars.
You can say Jerry.
So no, there is not, and there's no requirement to move forward, even if there's communities identified that would benefit, that's entirely up to those organizations, if they wanna pursue, or if we wanna look at grant dollars to help develop that further. Ideally, family resource centers are not run or operated by the county. Are we a county partner? Yes. Would we maybe be there doing financial services or child support and talking with families about it? Yes, potentially. But that would be doing the same work that they'd be doing here in the office, so it's not really a change.
And that's good. That's a very good answer. I'm going to ask the question one more time. So is there levy money that's going to go into this project? If this project was to continue after it, let's pretend that we say yes to the $223,000 for the access and exploring of, and the asset map for this project. We now are done with that. We're going to move on to the next step, and then historically, we're going to move on to the next step. Is there levy money, or is this continued with the, is it a P word?
Philanthropic
Thank you.
organization.
Does that continue? That's where the funds are drawn on, if you will?
There is another grant opportunity for development.
Okay.
If we so choose, and that's, I think by the time is right, because the Sauer family is focusing on this need, and they intend to sunset this process in the coming 5 years. So if we're gonna act on this now to access some of those resources for our community, now is a good time to do that.
Okay. And Mr. Chair, I think that's all I have.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Commissioner Lemire.
I know 2 weeks ago, you shared with us that sheet of paper that showed the statistics, that what these have been shown to do for families. Could you share, because I think there was a couple of us missing during that meeting, and I thought that was pretty important information.
Yep. What are the outcomes of a family resource center achieved? Now, this data comes from the national level, because these have been in existence in other parts of the country for a longer period of time than Minnesota. Minnesota is fairly new to this. $4.93 social return on investment for every dollar invested. $3.65 savings for the child welfare system for every dollar invested. A 63% reduction in child abuse cases. A 50% reduction in out-of-home placements. 26% lower rates of community-level child abuse investigations. Gain in economic self-sufficiency, health, social support, family functioning, and resiliency, child nurturing, and healthy attachment, improvement in children's educational successes.
And I think I had some of that in the packet, but I might have missed it on my vacation. But I'd just add, so there's 16 counties in the state of Minnesota who are starting to move forward with this. There's only 3 that are established, and I think that's Polk, Scott, and Pine
Pine,
County. And so we are on the front end of this, and there's another, dozen counties who are doing this explore and assess phase right now.
And Mr. Chair, let me continue. What's nice about the assess and explore phase is, like you said, that we'll gain information that'll be fruitful for the county, even though if we don't move forward with it. If we find out that there isn't any community collaboration, then it's not gonna work.
Right.
Right? And I think, do they appoint a board to run the family care or the family resource centers, or they must have to do something like that?
Yeah, the nuts and bolts of it, kind of, a family resource center, they're supposed to have like a parent advisory group, and that group helps steer the organizations and how it's run and what services should really be offered. So it's really kind of family-driven for the families, with those community partners and it being there to support.
And I think that's kind of nice about this too, because it's family orientated and it's not income based. Just because you have a lot of money don't mean that you don't have struggles within your family, and this could be that opportunity for them to meet other families that are struggling with the same problems and help them out. And I'm all in support of this, and thanks again for you both for applying for this SOUR grant and everything you do. Thanks.
All right, thank you for that. To follow up on both their questions, comments, there is no match for the county, so which is, nice. And again, as far as the time, the $220-some thousand, what's the expectations for that to last? Is it 1 year, 2 years? Do we have something on that?
So the plan is if we're accepting the dollars, we would put out a request for proposal or request for qualifications to find a third-party vendor to come in and contract and do this work across the region. The goal is to have that report in about a year's amount of time, so 12 to 14 months. And then that allows us to turn around and look at, does it make sense for us to explore this further in development in a different community across the county? 12, 14 months might be aggressive, but that's the goal.
Okay, so with that, there's, again, correct me if I'm wrong, there's really nothing going to family resource centers other than we're doing surveys out there, so this goes for probably employment. We don't have to hire someone here for this. This is that 220-some thousand, and like Melanie said, then there's other grants available. But if we decide we want to go on it, and then Commissioner Jelinski made that assessment that all of a sudden there's no money there, then we're going to come to the county and say, hey, we can't get as much as we did to help out. I know it's in the future, but we've had that happen too, where we've had grants and then they run out, and then there's like, where do we go from there? So I don't know, that's a tough question.
And there's not saying that an organization couldn't come and ask, I guess, that's the honest truth. I guess I don't really foresee that being our role as the county. I think it's there to help us support with either our social services and social workers or financial workers with food benefits or whatever it might be. And short of that, we're just a community partner. We really need them to step up and drive this and move this forward. And if there's not an agency willing, then I don't think this idea works in our community.
And then you also mentioned, maybe it's you or Melanie, that you could use some of our staff, possibly. Do we have the resources to take staff away to help out with this family resource center?
I would see, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't know that I see it as taking away. Those are probably the same families that we would have served anyway. It's just gonna be, maybe instead of meeting them here at this office, we're meeting them at the Family Resource Center, which we're already out and about in the community anyway. So I guess I don't see it as taken away from other services.
I'm not, again, those bad words, but, so that's what I meant is, so are we gonna be using up time that we currently serving? Maybe we're serving the same people here, but if we have someone else that comes in, is that gonna affect our staff?
When we were visiting with Scott County, and I went down there recently to see theirs, they described it as the child support person who was there was just officing out of the Family Resource Center that day. because we do telecommuting right now as a county, we do have the option to telecommute and get into the VPN and do secure work in other settings. So it would be much like they're at their desk. They're able to do their other work if somebody doesn't come in to ask questions for that day. So they had not noticed in Scott County that it had impacted their workload because of the ability to telecommute.
All right, and then I think I'm done, I got one more. If we approve this here as a board, are you gonna be involved in the hiring process or trying to find this third party, or who's gonna be doing that?
So the review of the RFQs, RFPs, whatever you want to call them, would fall to that CMHI, AMHI group to review and pick the vendor. And so that's our collaboration with the 5-county area. Morrison County as the fiscal host would probably be signing off on whatever end contract agreement that would be.
Yeah.
And I know the answer to this, but explain fiscal host. Why does there have to be a fiscal host?
So some county has to step up and say, hey, we'll manage these dollars for the group. You know, like AMHI is handled by Crow Wing County, CMHI is handled by Todd County, and so someone has to be appointed for their accounting team to manage those dollars. With that, we do get a 10% admin recoupment to cover those accounting costs, and so that is all figured in and a part of this grant.
Great explanation. Commissioner Casper?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. Just a question, let's say down the road this does get approved and it moves forward, and I don't know that you have an answer to this, but would the county have someone on that board of directors to kind of help steer this program? I'm just curious, because if we're involved, if we're watching the dollars, it'd be nice to have someone boots on the ground keeping an eye.
For this part, this planning, assessment, exploration phase, we definitely are involved as far as that part. Somewhere down the road, if a family resource center is developed, potentially. But it really is meant to be parent-driven, community-driven, and yes, we might have a seat at the table to advise, but it really would be up to them to run.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I was just discussing with my partners here. Is this, you're asking for a motion, or this will not be?
If you are all okay moving forward with this, I would be looking for a motion to accept the grant dollars of $223,000.
We're not spending any money, so I think we just need a motion.
I'd make a motion.
Okay, and I need a second.
And Mr. Chair, and if I can add,
Yeah, please.
last week, Wednesday, I attended the Morrison County Community Collaboration Meeting, our collaborative meeting, that's monthly. And that's typically a meeting in the county hosted in various locations where our mayors meet. And last week's meeting was in Upsala, and the mayor of Upsala was there, the mayor of Little Falls was there, the administrator from Piers was there, and another council member from Upsala. And the topic of mental health was brought up. And I did share with them that the county board was going to be considering this assessment that was just proposed here this morning, and they seemed very pleased with that and are looking forward to have a better idea of what services are out there in the community, as the mayor of Upsala brought up mental health as a concern. So I just wanted to add that, Mr. Chair.
Appreciate that. So gentlemen, I have a motion and a second to approve to explore this Family Resource Center County Region. Jeff, did you have a?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have just a little bit more of a follow-up for both perhaps Nathan and Melanie. Nathan, you used the word region one time so far today, which is wonderful. But I know where you're going with it, and I know what it means, and I also know what 5 counties mean. So can you expand just a little tiny bit? We know what we're talking about for the project, if you will. The project's right here. When we talk about the region, 5 counties, who's all engaged in this?
Yep, and so that would be our Region 5 area, so Todd, Wadena, Cass, Crow Wing, and us. And this project would be for that person to kind of assess all those communities, but then the report is specific to each county. And I think that makes sense for Region 5. A lot of our services are already regionalized, such as our crisis grant is already regional, so Northern Pines Mental Health is our crisis provider, and they're the 5-county area. and are already providing that service, and there's a host of other services that are region-wide. So doing it as a region to do this assessment part certainly makes sense. And we'll have to see what the development, if we decide to move forward phase, would look like.
So whether it's today, yesterday, or tomorrow, you anticipate that there's 5 county boards having this discussion?
So the packet that I thought I had in the board packet also was sent to those directors to update with their, board. I don't know that they have to request acceptance of grant dollars per se, but they need to have the conversation, yes.
And one more thing, Mr. Chair. Ultimately, the involvement that Morrison County would have is the fiscal agent piece, which I get very clearly in what that is. And there generally is probably a 5 or a 10% portion that goes to the fiscal agent for the work that's being done, if you will. And any other work by Health and Human Services, Public Health, whomever it might be, Sheriff's Office, Assessor's Office, whomever, could go to, I'm really pushing this down the road right now, could go to this center and have a conversation for an hour today on A, B, and C, whatever it might be. And you mentioned Hands of Hope as one. It doesn't make it, the administrator could show up one in particular day and converse with the individuals that were there on county administration, be it what it might be. A commissioner could do the same thing. A city council person, mayors, whatever. It doesn't make any difference, but all those, because it's 5 counties, because we're joining in, one big happy family, it could be anything. But as far as levy money is concerned, we're not dealing with levy money because we're utilizing philanthropy money. Right? Did I get it out right? Mr. Chair, that's all I have. Thank you.
Any more discussion? This will be a roll call vote. And Commissioner Casper.
Aye.
Commissioner Zelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Myself is aye. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Great discussion, gentlemen. Yeah. Public Works.
The heavy hitters are here.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Tony Hennon, Morrison County Public Works Director.
I'm Drew Hodzenbuehler, Environmental Recreation Manager for Morrison County.
So I brought Drew in today to do a little update on our Belle Prairie River Access Project that we received a grant for yesterday. And then following that, we're gonna review some other grant opportunities that we're considering applying for and wanted board input on.
Yeah, so if you want to go to the next slide, we'll start off. So this project we applied for in 2023 and received about $1.1 million to build an accessible path essentially down to the river. If you want to go to the next one as well. This grant was given through Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails, and we've committed to an accessible walkway with ending in a casting pad along the Mississippi River, angled parking, including accessible parking, a picnic shelter, handicap accessible restrooms, and a stairway to the boat launch area. So this structure will replace the 3 aging structures, or the 3 aging stairways at Belle Prairie Park, which have become treacherous, we'll say. So the current timeline is this month. We plan to start soliciting bids for project management and design and eventually construction. This summer and winter, we're planning to finalize the design and get environmental reviews, archaeology reviews, all that stuff done. And then next summer and the following 2 years or so, we will finish construction on this project. Yep, so it's a 3-year grant program, so starting in this year, so 2024, we have until June of 27 to complete final construction of
And
it.
if I may follow,
Yep.
what was the grant dollars again?
It's about 1.1 total with our match included in there.
And our match was?
$150,000, I believe.
Pretty good money
Thereabouts.
for a little investment that we're doing, so.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Is this located in the same spot as the Rotten Stairs are? Okay.
Two of them, yeah, so there's kind of a bow in the river there that it has a longer stretch that they think they can accomplish this, this slope down to the river. But yeah, it would be essentially where those two stairways are now.
Pictures of what we have.
Can you,
going on, no?
back up one for me, Matt? Or where they at? Yeah, that. That ain't what that other picture looks like.
It is, it's just a,
It is an aerial, yep.
That next picture is highlighting this space right here.
Yeah, so
See it right here.
yeah, they give you two perspectives from the three that
Do it
we've
again.
seen.
Go back once more, Matt.
And if you go back one more, it gives you the other edge.
There's two sidewalks.
Yep, and that other one is right here up top.
Oh, gotcha.
No,
Now,
it-
thank you.
and so what that does is allows a gradual slope for, you know, potentially people in wheelchairs or people that have issues climbing stairs. It's a nice gradual ADA compliant way for them to also enjoy the river. And like Drew mentioned, the current stairs are in some dire need of replacement, so this is gonna be quite the improvement and really a really cool asset on the Mississippi. It'll really highlight Little Falls and the wonderful park we have here just north of town.
One more.
Go ahead, please.
Do we have to move the road for this too? Or not? That's all?
No, that's all within that. It's a pretty long stretch of land. That picnic shelter may or may not be on that side of the road. We're still kind of placing things. But yeah, they're expecting to fit that all on that bank.
Thank you.
And as we start working with our actual design teams, through the RFP process, we'll end up selecting an architect and engineer, and they'll be the ones that are ultimately designing this. What you're seeing here is just a conceptual drawing that was inside that Parks Master Plan that was created around 2019, I believe, or 20. So yeah, that plan allowed us to go after some of these grant opportunities, and you know, Drew and some of the engineering staff put in a lot of work to get this opportunity, and it's pretty neat to deliver on a project like this.
What are the black dots?
I believe those are existing trees.
Because you got them in the cement, in the sidewalk too. so-
Yeah, I think they more or less mapped out existing trees, and so they're trying to get an idea of which ones are gonna go and which ones are gonna stay.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
this certainly isn't the first day that we've talked about this project by any stretch of the imagination. This is the prettiest pictures that I've seen so far as to what this could be, and whether these are the exact pictures or not, I'm certainly not going there. But first of all, we can talk all we want to about the existing, call them whatever you want to, the existing way to get down to the river at the park and end it right there, because there really is no way of getting down there that's in reality anymore. It's junk, it's garbage. And it's high time we do something, or lock the park, one or the other, in my opinion. This conceptual drawing, and I happen to know a little bit of the work that has gone into it, because I've sat on the park part of that, trail part of it many times. I've been involved in this discussion. Today, I look at this and I actually see reality coming out. I see something of, you went to this meeting, you went to that meeting, you scratched your head, you pulled some hair out. I didn't, but maybe you did. And maybe people before us did the same thing. This isn't something that was created last night, and it certainly wasn't created in the dark. These photographs look like they might have been created last night or in the dark. I'm impressed. I can only say, you done good.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to have Drew and other staff here. You know, they recognize there's opportunities out there to apply for grants, and you know, this was the presentation that Drew would have shown to you last year at this time,
Yep.
when we were asking to apply for it. So it's really neat to be sitting here in front of you today with Drew saying, well, we applied for it, and he did the hard work, and some of our engineering staff helped supplement that, but he did the hard work, and now those dollars are coming, and we're going to be delivering the project. So it's pretty cool to provide an update and start having some of those preliminary timeframes for everyone. And it's something that, you know, as a community, we can be excited about. So really, really neat. You know, so we're excited to provide this update today.
And Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Zelinski.
If I may, one more thing. I really don't know how long Belle Prairie Park has been in existence as we know Belle Prairie Park, but it's been there for a very long time. So let's use very long time instead of putting a year because I don't know it. A very long time ago, these steps were absolutely, I'm going to anticipate first class.
Absolutely.
A very long time ago and today, times have changed. We need to look at the world and how the world has changed, and we need to look at each individual. I just have to say, Drew, I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. Thank you for that. Good deal.
Move forward if you have anything else.
Well, we can move on to our next project here. So currently, so I should say, we have acknowledgements for funding for some of the park projects we've done in the past year. So Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails is the primary funder for this, which is Outdoor Heritage Fund dollars. And if you want to go to the next one, so this this river access project is currently requiring that we perform an archaeological survey on a portion of the park. So if you want to go to the next slide, there are 4 known archaeological sites within the park. One of them is the cemetery, which we know and have extent for and know the boundaries of. There are 2 Native American alpha sites, which not a ton are known about. And then there is 1 Native American tool workshop that is on the National Register of Historic Places within the park. And these 3 assets essentially were never fully studied, and the boundaries were never defined beyond that. So it kind of went on the National Register of Historic Places, and it kind of ended there, and no further published work was done to identify what's there and how far it goes. And for that reason, they want us to figure out where that is, essentially. So if you want to go to the next slide. So this all came about because Great River Greening was doing some habitat work, removing buckthorn in a portion of the park. And we mentioned that this asset exists, and here we are, 4 months later, 6 months later. Great River Greening funded Phase 1A literature review. They went to the Burke Library at St. Cloud State University and looked at available published literature on these sites, and pretty much found out that we know a little bit, but there's a lot we don't know, and the biggest thing being how far these boundaries extend. So what we need to do now is a shovel survey to figure out the extent, what's there, and where it is within the park. We have rough ideas, but not. We have some conflicting data, I think, is what they ultimately determined. And this will guide work on our river access improvements. This will guide work on the invasive removals that Great River Greening is doing. And it's going to guide work on our future construction plans that are within our master plan. If you want to go one more slide. So the kind of hard to see, I guess, on here, but the blue outline is about half of the park that we're looking to survey. Most of these assets are somewhere in the northern part of the park, but like I said, we don't know the extent of them. And then the yellow dots on there that's the existing funded river access project points that we just talked about. If you want to go to the next one.
So if I may.
Yep.
Drew, what happens if we do find something in the boundary of where we're doing this construction? What's consequences?
So depending on what and where they find it, you have a few options. We can try and shift where we're doing things. So we can try and shift somewhere along that bank to a less invasive spot where we could put this. The other option is you can do a more in-depth survey, and you can find out everything you need to know about what's there, and then build on top of it, essentially, are the 2 primary options. Or we can just abandon it, but I don't think we want to do that. I suppose there is a third option, technically. So if you want to go to the next one here. So a shovel survey is beginning next week on the northern part of the park. Great River Greening secured a good amount of funding from the Outdoor Heritage Fund to assist us in this study. We have the opportunity to apply through Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails again for a planning grant of up to $50,000 with a 20% match. to fund the remainder of this work. The deadline soft deadline I was given is this Friday. That'll get us on July's meeting agenda, and the turnaround for this would be pretty quick, so we would be expecting to have funding before the end of the summer and be able to complete this survey work this fall. We have our archaeologist lined up and kind of ready to go, so. I think that is, so that's all I have on that piece for now, but I'm happy to answer questions.
Gentlemen, anything for Drew? Great explanation, great presentation.
So for this portion, we would be looking for a resolution of support to apply for the grant.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve.
I have a
the
motion. I
application to
need a
apply for
second.
grant.
Right here, I'll second it.
Any more discussion on this resolution? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I guess I do have a question.
Too late.
Obviously, are we required to do this survey?
Yes, so before they'll allow us to do anything, state statute mandates that we have some sort of survey in place, whether that's a 150-foot buffer around proposed structures or a larger section of the park like we're looking at. The reason we're looking at that larger section is because a quarter of that or half of that is already required for what Great River Greening is doing. But this way we get it out of the way for any future development that we want in that section of the park. And the majority of our enhancements to the park are planned within that area, so.
So to continue forward with this, the fishing platform and all that stuff, do we have to do a survey of that location? And if the grant is denied, the $50,000 grant is denied, is there enough in that 1.25 million to?
Right, we would have enough to do, we would switch our focus from doing half of the park to just doing buffers, and we have enough in the amount that we were planning to match that we would be able to cover that expense.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Casper.
Yeah, and I'm sure I missed it, Mr. Chair, but I was gonna ask, so you had to cover 20% of the $50,000 cost
Correct.
of the, okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to cover $10,000 right up front.
We can apply for, so the total bill is about $75,000 for this whole thing. We can apply for up to $50,000. That's not saying they'll award us $50,000. We need to cover about $35,000 at a minimum. But we're still kind of looking at where those numbers end up, so.
And currently, we do have those funds allocated, but if there's a grant opportunity where we can bring additional matching funds and lessen the burden onto Morrison County and our actual levied dollars, we see it as a wonderful opportunity to try to supplement that and then expand. With the expanded archaeological study, there's other things inside the Belle Prairie Park Master Plan that we'd love to apply for in the future, whether it's upgraded playground equipment or different natural remediations that can take place at the park. Then we'll just have this data for future use and then hopefully wouldn't have to duplicate it.
Very well, thank you.
And again, I'm glad you brought up that master plan, because this is very intense. We discussed this over years, probably looking at this master plan. This is just part of it, what benefits Morrison County and the residents here at this park. It's unbelievable, again, with that park. And I encourage anybody to get out there, because it's, even the goats cleaned up a few things out there too, so thank you for that.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
one more question. How is the buckthorn doing? Did the goats take the roots too, or is it coming back?
It's coming back, but they're pretty thin, wispy saplings, so we're thinking mowing a certain amount every year will slowly but surely kind of knock those numbers down.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Drew.
Yeah, we did have a volunteer event coordinated through Great River Greening where we pulled a bunch of it, and there was a lot, but it was, like I said, it was pretty thin, wispy stuff, so the goats did what they were supposed to do.
Very good. The goats are to be commended.
That's right.
Gentlemen, any more discussion on this? We already got a motion and second. Okay, so we're good.
All right, and then the final item we have today is another grant opportunity for the Sioux Line Trail. So if you want to go to the next one. So the county owns 37 miles of old railroad grade Sioux Line Trail that we acquired in 1999. About 10 miles of that is paved a recreation trail for bikes, walking, rollerblades, what have you. And then on that entire system, there are 11 bridges, and Morrison County owns and maintains 10 of them. And so what we would be looking at for this grant is the red section on the bottom of that map there. About 2.2 miles of trail and a bridge in that 2.2 miles. If you want to go to the next slide. So this is a zoomed in view of that section. We have a deteriorating wood bridge on that trail. And we have 2.2 miles of pavement that are probably the worst in the system. It's probably the worst section of the system in terms of deterioration. So if you want to go to the next slide. This is the current condition. These are 2022 and 2023 surveys done by our engineering team on the condition of the bridge. So we're getting large cracks and essentially rot of the pillars and support structures for that bridge. This is the bridge that goes over the south two rivers. And if you go to the next slide, this is the bridge in totality. So it's a pretty long span, even though it's a pretty small section of creek. We looked at different options. We looked at replacing it with box culverts and some other options, but ultimately determined that replacing with a similar bridge structure would be the most cost-effective solution. And so if you want to go to the next slide, so the plan that our engineering team came up with is to replace with a prefab bridge structure. It's built to our project specifications. It meets all of the requirements that we needed to. We have a similar bridge over 160th Avenue on the Sioux Line Trail already, so we would be looking at something similar to bridge this section of the trail as well.
This is right off of Highway 10 by the entrance there for the ATV and the bike trail. Just
Yep.
to point
Yep.
that out.
Yep, 160th Ave. So yeah, it's a prefabricated structure. One of the benefits about this is we can design it to our own specs, so our width, what kind of strength we want on it. But when you look at doing structures inside wetlands, the less wetland disturbance that you can do ultimately is most cost effective for everyone and more environmentally friendly. So say we did evaluate this for box culvert structures. When you put in a box culvert, you'd be filling in wetlands, so we'd be looking at wetland replacement credits, which are very costly. So when you look at the length of the bridge that ultimately needs replacement, this kind of structure made most fiscal sense for this kind of situation.
If you want to go to the next one too, and then we would also be reclaiming about 2.2 miles of the trail from the Stearns County line up to County Highway 21. We'd be putting on about 3 inches of bituminous. We'd have 3 inches of aggregate underneath that. It'd stay the 10-foot wide that it is, and then we would put some weed spray in the underlayment to prevent some of these problems that we're seeing now. We applied for some grant dollars in the past to rehab portions of the trail, and their concern was that we weren't doing enough to address the problems that we were having to extend the life further. So this design represents what we think is going to last a lot longer, avoid the problems that we're seeing on the trail, and hopefully satisfy some of those concerns.
Do we know how old this, right now currently is, that was the trail that was for the
Yep.
tar and stuff?
It was paved in 2006. So we're nearing 20 years, which is about the life expectancy that we would think on that amount of pavement, so. So if you want to go then to the next one. So we would be applying through Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails Commission again for about $1.1 million to complete a $1.3 million bridge replacement and resurfacing project. Our match on that can be what we want it to be. We just score higher for higher percentages of match. We are bringing a significant amount of resources to the project that's not grant eligible, so we would be on the lower end of match because we're bringing those additional resources. But yeah, it would make a pretty significant improvement to the overall trail experience, and that bridge is in need of repair, so.
If I'm gonna go to our administrator, when you say we can determine our match, what we want, obviously there's gonna be a cost there. Would this not be coming under our budget when we do budgeting, or maybe we've got money sitting there for this, because, yeah, we could pay for it all, or we could pay for $1, but then if you also could explain how the scoring works too, so throwing that out to everybody.
So with all kinds of grant opportunities, when you have some skin in the game, you typically score higher. In these kind of grants, you could apply for the full funding with no match. Obviously, if a applicant puts some funding match into it, your application will be scored a lot higher, and you're increasing your odds of receiving those funds. Now, so in this case, we're looking at approximately a $200,000 match, and those would be levy dollars. And how we fund our park budget, we have a very small levy ask inside of our current parks budget. Roughly $115,000 a year is what our park operations comes out of. But inside of there, we set aside roughly $25,000 a year for future projects. And so our current project at Belle Prairie Park, we're able to absorb those costs. You know, for this one, we would propose adding a little bit to our levy asks in there to slowly build those funds up to perform this kind of project. And when we look at it from the grand scheme of things, we have the Sioux Line Trail. Morrison County owns it, and we have to maintain it. So with these kind of grant opportunities, what we're doing is essentially mitigating the county from having to pay a full $1.3 million directly. Or, you know, like Drew said, there's always options to, you know, there's always a do-nothing option too. So that's why when we're looking at this, we're trying to figure out the best way that our project will score the highest to bring those funds in, and identifying that roughly $200,000 match we think we get an edge and hopefully get selected for a project like this. And then some of the internals on this kind of project, we're fortunate to have a very good engineering staff. So obviously a consultant would be working on the structural side, but all the pavements we'd be doing in-house, and the construction inspection would be doing in-house. So those are some ways we can allocate some of our other resources which help with those, with the grant application and matching funds as well.
So I'm gonna turn to Matt, so if in our budget process, then we just have to find the money, is that correct, Matt? Or how do we do it?
Yeah, that's right, Mr. Chair, and, you know, I think what our job then as staff is to come back to the board to show you options of where that funding could come from.
Okay, and again, this is my opinion, maybe you don't need an answer from us, because I think this is a discussion that we should probably have in maybe a planning, or maybe during our budget, or are you guys okay with approving a dollar amount today? For more discussion.
Do we need to, you need to know the dollar amount that we'll be willing to assist with today?
For the grant application, we would. The main portion is a letter or a resolution of support to apply for the grant. And if the board isn't comfortable with what we're proposing, we could back it off to a different number.
When would you need this? Do you need it, like, does this have to be in by a certain date?
July.
Yeah,
Well, that says July of 2025.
Oh,
So the application's due July 31st of this month. We would find out this winter if we were selected for funding, and then grant funds would become available July of 2025. I should add too that this is also a 3-year grant project, so any funds that we would be allocating would be spread out over those 3 years as well.
So a couple of weeks would not hurt this if we deny it or approve in 2 weeks, would that be okay? Maybe if we do 100,000 or, you know, see, are we okay with that? Are you guys okay with that, or is that too late? When's our next board meeting, July?
23rd, I think.
Again, it's up to you guys, you know, that's, I don't know.
Well, Mr. Chair, part of the issue that we're talking about is Morrison County property. This is ours. This belongs to Morrison County. It didn't belong to Morrison County next week, or next month, or next year. It belonged to Morrison County 20 years ago, or 25 or 30 years ago. I don't know. Again, I don't know the history on exactly that trail, but it's many years, and it belongs to the county. As far as I'm concerned, it's like a road. We have to maintain the road. If the road's not safe, we need to fix the road. If the bridge isn't safe, we need to fix the bridge. If there is a grant that is available, we need to apply for the grant, my opinion. And then I have to look at the powers to be, which is including the board, obviously. How much is that matching? I don't have a clue what that matching
And that's
piece
my
should be.
point, Commissioner Jazinski, do we, I'm not saying, do we put 300,000 out, or do we put 100? Either way, we could get the grant regardless if we put in 100,000 or 200. Again, like, said by our county engineer, you know, the more we put into it, the better off we have to get the grant, but there's still no guarantee, I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point, it's just an application, you know, and, you know, your selection wouldn't be till late this fall, early winter, kind of the same process that we went through last year. And say we are selected, well, then we'd be, you know, looking at trying to, one, review our fund balance for what's available, and then two, how we would potentially address budgeting or levied dollars into that extended period outside of that. So you know, you wouldn't be just directly levying $200,000 in 1 year. You'd probably be, you know, supplementing it up $25,000 to $50,000 over a 3 to 4 year time frame to take care of these funds. 'Cause
Again, and I'm all for getting this, because that's what it is, because if we don't maintain it, that trail's shut down. You know, eventually, maybe not tomorrow, but, you know, if that bridge is not done, it's just that I think, again, I would like to sit down with the rest of the board just to discuss, you know, where can we come up with this money, how many years, you know, is brought up, and if it doesn't make a difference, but again, it's a majority here, so, you know, if we just say 200,000, then I would like to say, well, where are we getting that 200,000? Which department are they gonna give up? I think we just need a little bit more discussion on this, but again, that's my opinion.
So, Mr. Chair, do you know how much we have in the Park and Trails Fund?
Yeah, as of right now, end of, wrong one. As the end of May 31st, we have a little over 240,000. I'm projecting to be roughly just shy of 300 at the end of the year. Granted, we have our rest of our operating expenses. So currently, inside of our budget, we do set aside $25,000 to $30,000 a year to help build our fund for projects like this. And the Belle Prairie Park project, that's what's allowing us to execute that. So that's gonna draw down our funds a little bit. You know, as we project out, you know, without changing our, I'll call it our allocated levy dollars towards projects like this, you know, towards the end of 2025, so next December, you know, we'd be looking at drawing down our Parks and Trail budget from the Belle Prairie Park project, roughly $100,000 at that time. So you still have those funds in there. And then say we were to be selected for this, you know, for the 2025 levy, well, potentially the 2025 levy, we'd probably bump that up a little bit, and if selected, then we'd try to make sure our projections are very accurate and what kind of levy dollars we need to allocate at that time.
So what you're actually looking for is 200,000, really, right? Because it says 1.1 to 1.3.
Yes, so we're saying that we think the best odds for us to be selected for this grant is if we contribute $200,000 to a $1.3 million project. That gives us the best scoring criteria. And, you know, there might be someone that comes in and has a $2 million project, and they say they're gonna bring in $1 million to the table, and, you know, we could be having this conversation for null, but.
And our Parks and Trail Fund will have 200,000 in it after we draw it down for the project in Belle Prairie Park.
Yeah, roughly, we'll be a
And then we
little
can
bit less than
still
that.
increase the levy ask for the Parks and Trail Fund, like you said, 25,000. For 3 years, that's 75,000, so take another 100,000 out of that, you still have, but you'll be allocating more back in there. Mr. Chair,
Good points. Again,
It's a
it's
200,000
gonna
to get
get
1
done
point.
I'm assuming the board's gonna approve this, it's just the dollar amount, where we're gonna have to, for a match or whatever it's called.
And we still have some dollars allocated from the first, and I hate even saying this word, COVID dollars, from the first that we have in the general fund that we could use towards this bridge. 200,000 to get a $1.3 million bridge replacement. And like Commissioner Jelinski said, it's our bridge. I've never driven on it, but I hear a lot of people use the trails. I'm too lazy to ride my bike. But I could vote for it right now, Mr. Chair. I don't know what the rest of the board is.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Give Drew some time to.
The 200,000 will be divided over 3 years?
Correct.
Did I understand that right?
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay, do simple math for me. What is that? Did you just say it?
66.
It's about 65,000 a year.
I'll make the motion to get it done for a $200,000 match.
We don't even know if we're gonna get it, but
We don't have a clue.
second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Commissioner Casper, do you have anything? I don't wanna put you on the spot.
I'm just wondering, you know, while I'm not against it, is there a rush to do it right now, being it's not due till the end of July? Should we have more discussion about this, or do we want to just push it through and have it done?
That was my question. And again, we got 2 board members. Me, I'm on the fence yet, and I guess I could go either way. I think I would like a little bit more discussion, so I'm gonna be voting that we just table it and move it for 2 weeks. But again, it just takes a majority, so.
Is that gonna get enough time, Drew?
Yeah,
Be
that's the
pushing it.
question.
Be pretty tight, but,
Gotta make sure that all your I's are dotted.
That exactly, Mr. Chair, that's correct. In respect to Drew, in respect to the Public Works staff, we know we have to replace our bridge because there's a problem. We can get whatever it was, $1 million for 200,000, divided over 3 years is 60,000, rough numbers, dollars a year. Whatever that figure is, I'm no mathematician, so I'm not doing that in front of me. Whatever that is. And it needs to be done by July 31st. Yep, we can beat this one up for another week, then we can beat it up for another weekend. So you say, okay, Drew, you got 6 hours, get it done. That's not the good way of doing business as far as
Well,
I'm
again,
concerned.
here's what I'm saying, it's like if you do an application, my opinion, you fill in everything but the number. Then, so when, I'm just guessing, you could have all this done, how much money are we putting in, you do that, I think that would be an easy formula. But I say, I am just one, I'm not, you got my opinion. I would just like to say, okay, yeah, we're gonna take it from the park fund, but we have other issues with parks too. We need money there too, and I'm sure you could do that. So are we gonna deplete this completely, COVID money? I don't even know if there's any COVID money left, is there?
There, for the lost revenue ARPA, Mr. Chair, right now, there's a balance of about $100,000 remaining, and we'll be meeting monthly. And again, as a reminder to the board, all of these funds need to be committed by December 31st of this year. So we'll be meeting monthly with those that have stakeholders and other projects to get updates. There's that LACTIF tribal funds, local area tribal funds that we also received of about $100,000. So I think there's options out there, and I think I can work with the Public Works Director as we refine and bring the budget forward to the board for 2025 for this to show where that would come from.
A good point, thank you. So there is money that we could use for that. Again, you got the Parks and Trails funds. So see, I can be changed around.
Mr. Chair, if you guys are uncomfortable, then I don't think we should take a vote. We should, if you want us to withdraw our motion, because it'll be 2-2, and that's just not
You
fair at
didn't
this
hear what I
time.
was saying. I was saying I could be changed.
You're good with it?
By what our administrator explained to me, that there's money there that we could pull out of there. I just don't wanna deplete, and this is gonna be a roll call vote, I just don't wanna deplete all our Parks and Trail money and have, okay, now we gotta do, I don't know, whatever. We have other things that we could do. That's my big objection of this, but again, he even brought up the reservation money or whatever it is, so, and we could use that for this too?
We can, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, see, so that I didn't realize, so that's a good thing.
And
So,
as our department head, as our directors point out, our engineer, a 1 to 5 return on investment, so it's good return on investment on dollars spent by the county to get $1 million with a $200,000 match.
yeah, and so that's why I said, Commissioner Lemire, now I go, you know what, now I get a little bit more information. There is money available there that we're not gonna have to deplete the whole Parks and Trail Fund, so Now I'll go with, I would, again, you have the motion, I have a second, this is gonna be a roll call. And your roll, or your, was 200,000, your motion was for the 200,000, Commissioner Zelinski? And your second?
Yes, that's correct, sorry.
All right, I'm gonna ask for a roll call. Commissioner Zelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Commissioner Casper.
Aye.
My vote is aye. We did her, all right.
Thank you for
Thank you,
all your
Jim.
hard
Thank
work
you.
on this, you guys.
And thank you, Matt, for
Mr.
that.
Chair, Tony, do you need to address this resolution to enter into that as well? I mean, what they just talked about was the match dollar amount, then this would be to apply for the grant dollars.
This resolution is to support an application for the grant that our Morrison County Board, if we're selected, would like to move forward with it, and that's a support resolution. The grant dollar amount is what we'll be putting inside the application. It doesn't go inside of this resolution.
These go hand in hand with the action the board just took.
And you guys are okay with that?
I think we need a motion for the resolution.
Please.
And, Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Okay, so now we have a motion to approve the resolution of the dollar amount put in there. I need a second.
Yes.
I'd second that.
All right, I have a second. Any more discussion on the resolution? And again, this is for something that, again, it's a need, not a want, for our county. This is something that brings in, it's gonna bring in revenue for the county. It's a maintenance item. It's got all the things that's where our money needs to be spent, so in the county.
And it's also just an application, you know, there's,
Exactly.
we may not get selected.
When we get selected, now we have that.
If we get
Then say
select-
no at that time if we
Yeah,
should so
if we get
choose.
selected, then, you know, you have additional funds coming in.
Maybe we could've got selected for 100,000. Okay, gentlemen, all right, I have a motion and a second for the resolution. Any more discussion?
It does not need to be, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, that's all we have for you, unless you have any other
Gentlemen, thank you.
questions.
Nice seeing you, Drew.
You too.
Good
Thank you all.
job. Drew, stop in anytime, really.
Anytime.
Bring money.
Will do.
Bring ideas to how to spend that money.
Drew has a good track record of bringing money, so.
It's a
we're
good
gonna-
job. Thank you very much.
His way.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
God bless you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Administrators report.
Mr. Chair, I have no update for the board other than what I provided.
All right, you did a good job. I thank you, and the staff did a great job too, so I appreciate that. I hope everybody had a good Fourth. Long weekend. You know, I just gotta do something different. Commissioner Zelinski, would you like to start with your time, and then the dates are gonna be
July 14th through July 27th.
14th through the 27th. You have that, Commissioner Zelinski?
And Mr. Chair, I do have it whenever you're ready.
Go ahead, please.
Excellent. I'm going to start on the 16th. On the 16th at 8:30 in the morning, we've got a planning meeting right here in the boardroom. And at 6 o'clock that evening, we've got a Planning Commission Board of Adjustment PCBOA meeting, 6 o'clock PM right here in the boardroom also. On the 17th at 5 o'clock in the evening, I have a Hands of Hope meeting. That meeting is held virtually. On the 18th at 10 o'clock in the morning, I have a Central Minnesota Emergency Services Board Owners and Operators meeting. That meeting is held virtually. I would like to make everybody aware that's not aware, on Friday the 19th, and I believe 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I hope I'm right, 4 o'clock in the afternoon at Emblem Brenning Funeral Home is the wake service for Linda Day. And following that on the 20th, Saturday the 20th at 11 o'clock, and I'm going to have to look to the administrator for the location of the funeral.
Living Hope Church.
Living Hope Church is the funeral at 11 o'clock in the morning. Continuing, Mr. Chair, on the 23rd of July, 9 o'clock in the morning, we have a county board meeting. And then I'm going to move on to the 25th of the month at 12:30 in the afternoon. I have a State Emergency Communications Board meeting. That meeting is held virtually. And Mr. Chair, at this time, that's all I have.
All right, Commissioner Lemire.
Can you go to Bobby quick? I'm supposed to
I-
have one
I
on
did
here,
that
but I
at
can't
first, I
find
see
it.
the-
Oh, you've seen me
I see
struggling.
you struggling. Commissioner Casper.
I got you, Mike.
Thanks, buddy.
No problem. Tuesday, the 16th at 5 o'clock in the evening, Great River Regional Library over in St. Cloud. And then Jeff's got all those other meetings covered. Over to the 18th on Thursday, Central Minnesota Council on Aging, 10 o'clock till noon, that's a virtual meeting. And then I also, that same day, Thursday the 18th, at 12 o'clock, Airport Commission, or Little Falls Airport. And then the 19th, Mississippi Headwater Board at 9 o'clock up at Bacchus. Normally that's up at Walker, but it's at Bacchus this time. And then would you scratch that 18th meeting for the Central Minnesota Council on Aging? Change that to the 25th, please. Which is Thursday, the 25th, is that virtual meeting for Central Minnesota Council on Aging. I had double booked that. Thank you, that's it, sir.
And I'll go, myself, we got pretty much everything covered. There is no TCC this month. Just to let you know on that. And then going all the way to the 26th, there's a soil and water at 8 o'clock. So that looks like I'm covered for this. So Commissioner Lemire.
You know, I can't find it, but I should have a public health on the 17th at 5. I forgot our new lady's name. Do you know that? No. Used to be Teresa.
So is that, you got everything else covered?
Yep.
All right. Well, that should do it for that. Any more discussion, anything? If not, let's adjourn at 10:11. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr.